today.
You sure?
Yeah,
It's a big step.
I know.
A storm is brewing in Heartland, and this time, it's not just over the Alberta skies. Season 19, Episode 5 has dropped a wave of emotions that's left every fan speechless. There's heartbreak, betrayal, and a shocking moment that could change everything for Amy and her family. If you thought the last episode was emotional, wait until you see what's coming. Hidden messages, leaked spoilers, and a moment that made the entire fandom gasp. This episode has it all. Stay tuned, because we're breaking down every twist and every tear-filled scene that makes this one of the most unforgettable episodes in years. Episode 5 doesn't waste a single second. From the very first frame, you can feel something heavy in the air. The tone is darker, the music softer, and Amy's face says it all. She's holding something inside. The episode opens with Amy at the ranch early in the morning, brushing Spartan while staring out at the horizon. You can see her trying to stay strong, but there's a pain behind her eyes. Ever since Ty's passing, every quiet moment at Heartland feels a little emptier. And this scene captures that perfectly. The camera slowly pans across the barn, showing the horses restless as if they can sense what's coming. Then, out of nowhere, we hear a truck pull up. It's Lou! She steps out looking serious, holding a file in her hands. She's been struggling with the family finances and the future of the ranch. When she walks toward Amy, the silence between them is almost louder than words. You can feel years of shared memories and buried disagreements rising to the surface. Lou tells Amy that a developer has made another offer on the land near the river. Amy doesn't even look at her. She just keeps brushing Spartan. The silence lingers before she finally says, "That land's not for sale, Lou. It never was." That one line sets the tone for the rest of the episode. It's not just about land, it's about loyalty, legacy, and the weight of promises made long ago. Meanwhile, Jack watches from the porch. His eyes carry decades of wisdom, but also the exhaustion of someone who's seen too many fights in this family. He knows this conversation is just the beginning of something bigger. His quiet sigh says more than any dialogue could. You can tell he's torn, wanting to protect his granddaughters but also tired of being the one holding everything together. Then comes the first emotional gut punch: a letter. Amy finds it tucked inside one of Ty's old notebooks. The handwriting is familiar, shaky, but filled with love. It's not from Ty, it's from someone else we haven't seen in a while. The letter talks about forgiveness, about moving on, and about letting go of guilt. Amy reads it silently, tears welling up, before folding it and placing it in her pocket. We don't see the sender's name yet, but fans can already sense it's going to be someone significant, maybe even a returning character. This is where the direction of the episode really shines. Every camera angle, every pause, feels intentional. The colors are colder than usual, and the background music carries this deep, haunting violin tone, a sign that something emotional is about to unfold. As the first 10 minutes pass, we realize this isn't just another quiet Heartland morning. It's the calm before the emotional storm. The relationships we thought were unshakable are about to be tested, and every choice from this point forward will echo through the rest of the season. Amy's voiceover ends the opening act. Sometimes, the hardest battles aren't the ones we fight out there, they're the ones we fight in here. She places her hand over her chest, and the screen fades to black. The episode title appears, "The Storm Before the Showdown." And that's when you know this isn't going to be just another episode. It's going to be the one everyone remembers. Before diving into the emotional chaos of Episode 5, we have to step back for a moment to Episode 4, because that's where the storm truly started forming. On the surface, Episode 4 felt peaceful. It gave fans a false sense of comfort. The sun over Heartland looked warm, the ranch seemed calm, and for a moment, it almost felt like the healing had finally begun. But beneath all that quiet, every character was breaking in their own silent way. Amy was trying her best to move forward. The way she smiled at Lindy, the way she threw herself into her work, it looked like progress, but you could sense it wasn't real peace. When she fixed that wild horse in Episode 4, it wasn't just about training, it was her way of avoiding what hurt most, the memories. Every gentle word she spoke to the horse sounded like something she wished she could still say to Ty. Lou, on the other hand, was drifting between control and collapse. Her political life was getting messier, and her attempts to keep the ranch running were stretching her thin. There was this one scene Lou staring at the old family photo on her desk. She whispered, "I'm trying, Dad. I really am." That line hit fans hard. Because for Lou, trying has always been her curse. She tries to fix everything, even when she's the one breaking inside. Then there was Jack, the quiet anchor. In episode 4, he spent more time looking than talking. Watching Amy, watching Lou, watching the land he's fought so hard to protect. You could see it in his face, the years catching up to him. His silence wasn't peace. It was the sound of someone who knows a storm is coming but doesn't know how to stop it anymore. And of course, there was Tim, unpredictable as always. Episode 4 gave us that tense barn scene where Tim accused Amy of living in the past. His voice was sharp, but behind it was worry. He's the kind of man who shows love through arguments, and this was one of those times. Amy's response was calm but powerful. "You can't rush grief, Tim." That line didn't just silence him, it silenced everyone watching. By the end of episode 4, everything looked steady again. The family sat down for dinner. Laughter filled the room, and for a brief second, it almost felt like the old Heartland was back. But the camera lingered too long on Amy's face as she stared at Ty's empty chair. No dialogue, no music, just that shot, raw and human. Fans knew what it meant. The story wasn't done with her healing yet. Episode 4 closed with Amy walking out to the porch at sunset. The sky was painted in gold and red, beautiful but heavy, like an omen. She whispered, "Tomorrow's going to be better." But we, the viewers, knew that wasn't true. Episode 5 was already waiting, and it was going to tear open every wound they thought had healed. That's what makes Heartland so special. It doesn't explode with action or loud drama, it breaks your heart quietly, piece by piece. And episode 4 was the quietest heartbreak of them all, setting the stage for the emotional firestorm that hit in episode 5. The seeds were planted: guilt, secrets, love, and loss, all waiting to bloom in pain. The final image of that episode wasn't just a sunset. It was a warning. The episode begins in silence, the kind of silence that feels heavier than thunder. Morning light stretches across the fields, but the ranch doesn't feel alive. The air is still, the colors colder. A single bird lands on the fence post, and that's the only movement we see. It's almost like the land itself knows that today, something's going to change forever. Amy steps out of the barn, her boots crunching against the frost. She looks older, not in years, but in spirit. The letter she found earlier still sits folded in her pocket. You can tell she's read it 100 times in her mind but hasn't found the courage to open it again. The camera stays close on her face, capturing that quiet war between strength and sadness. Then, a truck door slams. It's Tim. He walks toward her with his usual rough energy. He's angry, though we don't yet know why. "You can't keep doing this, Amy," he says. His voice cracks on the last word, giving away what he's really feeling: fear. She doesn't respond. She just keeps feeding Spartan, the horse being her shield. That's when he drops the bomb. Lou's thinking about selling part of the land. Amy freezes. That's the trigger. The peaceful morning shatters. She turns to him slowly, her eyes full of disbelief. "She wouldn't," she whispers. But deep down, she knows Lou might. The ranch has always been more than property, it's memory, legacy, the last piece of tie she still holds onto. Losing even a piece of it feels like losing him all over again. Cut to Lou standing in the kitchen, papers scattered across the table. She's staring at a letter from the developer. The offer is generous. Too generous. You can see it's tearing her apart. She wants to protect her family but also keep them afloat. Jack enters quietly, like he's been here before too many times. He doesn't even need to ask what's wrong. One look at the papers and he sighs. "You're thinking of selling memories for money again, aren't you?" His tone isn't angry, it's disappointed, almost heartbroken. The next few scenes move like a storm gathering force. Amy confronts Lou in the field. The wind picks up, clouds roll in. What starts as a calm talk turns into years of bottled emotions bursting open. Lou says, "You're living in the past, Amy." Amy fires back. "And you're running from it." Their voices echo through the open land, raw, emotional, and painful. It's not just a fight about land. It's a fight about grief, guilt, and who's been carrying the family since Ty's gone. The scene cuts to Jack watching from the porch again. He's motionless, his hat in his hand. The camera doesn't move, it just lingers on him as thunder rumbles in the background. You can almost hear what he's thinking. He's losing them, one argument at a time. Then, just as the tension reaches its peak, Amy finally pulls the letter from her pocket. The rain starts to fall. She opens it slowly, her hands shaking. The paper is worn, the ink faded. She reads silently as tears mix with the raindrops on her face. Then she looks up at Lou, at Jack, at the ranch, and says only one line. It's from Georgie. The screen cuts to black. That's when you realize everything we thought we knew about this episode was just a surface. Georgie's name changes everything. Her absence has always been felt, but her voice, even on paper, is enough to reopen old wounds and ignite new hope. The pacing, the silence, the weather, every element works together to make this one of the most powerful first halves in Heartland's history. It's emotional, haunting, and deeply human. You don't need explosions or special effects when every line feels like it's been carved out of heartbreak. By the midpoint of episode 5, it's no longer about horses or land. It's about healing, the kind that hurts before it helps. And the viewers can feel it too. You can't watch this part without feeling that lump in your throat, that ache in your chest that only Heartland can bring. There's something about this episode that feels unfinished, like every look, every pause is hiding something deeper. And maybe that's because it is. Because according to a few quiet whispers from behind the scenes, episode 5 isn't just another emotional chapter, it's the setup for something massive coming in the next episodes. Let's start with the biggest one, the Georgie letter. Fans online have been speculating non-stop about it, and some leaked production notes hint that this letter might not be the last we see of Georgie this season. A few photos reportedly taken near the set showed Alicia Newton, Georgie's actress, spotted during night shoots in Alberta, even though she wasn't listed in the official call sheets. Could this mean Georgie is returning in episode 6 or 7? The showrunners haven't confirmed anything, but the clues line up almost too perfectly. And there's more. Remember that rainy scene where Amy reads the letter? If you look closely, really closely, you'll notice a faint necklace glimmering beneath her jacket. It's the same one Ty gave her years ago in season 12. That's not an accident. Heartland's production team is known for layering emotional callbacks into small visual details. That necklace isn't just jewelry, it's a message. A sign that Amy still carries Ty's memory with her, even as she faces new emotional crossroads. Now, let's talk about that mysterious figure glimpsed in the trailer. For a split second, viewers caught a shadowed man walking up the road toward the ranch. The internet exploded with theories. Some fans think it's Peter returning early. Others believe it's a new character connected to the horse rescue storyline. But a few sharp-eyed fans noticed something far more interesting: the jacket. It's identical to the one worn by Ty in a flashback from season 14. Is it a coincidence? Maybe. But Heartland rarely does coincidences. Then there's the sound design, something most fans overlook. During Amy's confrontation with Lou, you can hear faint thunder rolling in, but listen carefully, there's a heartbeat rhythm mixed into the sound. It's subtle but intentional. It's as if the storm itself mirrors Amy's anxiety, nature sinking with emotion, the ranch breathing with its people. These are the kind of storytelling layers that make Heartland feel alive, even when it's breaking your heart. Now, here's where the leaked spoilers get even more interesting. A supposed insider from the editing department mentioned that episode 5 originally had a deleted flashback scene, one that showed Amy finding Ty's old photo while reading Georgie's letter. The scene was reportedly cut for pacing reasons, but the emotional connection remains: Georgie's words and Ty's memory both pulling Amy in opposite directions, one toward healing, one toward holding on. And that's not all. A small but significant moment happens near the end when the camera pans to the horizon after the storm. For just a second, a white horse appears near the tree line, watching the ranch. That horse isn't part of the regular herd. Many fans believe it symbolizes Ty's spirit, the same imagery Heartland has used before to show his lingering presence. Whether it's intentional or not, it's a moment that chills you, even if you don't fully understand why. The emotional craftsmanship here is what makes this episode special. Every frame, every prop, feels like it's whispering something to the audience. Something the characters can't quite say out loud yet. By the time episode 5 ends, you realize it's not just a story about a family trying to hold on, it's a mirror of our own grief, our own need to find meaning in what we've lost. The leaks, the clues, the details, they don't just spoil the episode, they deepen it. They remind us that every ending in Heartland is also a beginning waiting to unfold. And that's what keeps the fans coming back, not just for the horses or the romance, but for the unspoken connections hidden between the lines. Because sometimes, the quietest secrets are the ones that change everything. If you strip away the drama, the arguments, and the thunderstorm that shook Heartland Ranch, what you're left with in episode 5 is something raw, something human. This episode isn't about selling land or reading letters. It's about learning how to live again when the world you built has already fallen apart. Every character in episode 5 carries a wound. But the beauty of this story lies in how they carry it differently, imperfectly, truthfully. Amy wears her pain quietly, like armor. She doesn't shout or break down. She just keeps moving, because stopping means remembering. Her strength isn't loud, it's in the way she shows up every morning, the way she still talks to Spartan like he understands every unspoken word. That's what makes her so real. Grief doesn't make her weak, it's what's keeping her going. Lou, meanwhile, represents a different kind of heartbreak, the kind that comes from responsibility. She's the one trying to fix everything, the one making impossible decisions while pretending she's fine. But episode 5 finally cracks that mask. Her argument with Amy isn't really about money. It's about guilt, the guilt of moving on too fast, of trying to be strong when you're not. That's the emotional genius of this episode. Every argument is just a cry for understanding dressed up as logic. Then there's Jack, the quiet watcher, the bridge between generations. He doesn't say much, but when he finally speaks, when he says, "You can't keep saving the land if you lose yourselves in the process," it hits harder than any fight. Jack has always been the heart of Heartland, the voice of wisdom that reminds everyone what truly matters, not the ranch, not the money, but the people who make it home. And let's not forget Georgie's letter, the emotional heartbeat of this episode. Even though she's not there in person, her words reach across distance and time. The letter isn't just a message, it's a lifeline. It's about forgiveness, about how healing doesn't always mean forgetting. It's about finding the courage to love life again, even after it's broken you. That's what Amy needed to hear, and that's what this entire episode is quietly screaming beneath the surface, that healing doesn't happen all at once. It happens in small, uneven steps. The cinematography plays into this perfectly. Notice how the colors shift throughout the episode: cold blues at the start, warm golds by the end. It's visual storytelling at its finest, symbolizing how grief slowly transforms into growth. Even the rain has meaning. It's not just weather, it's cleansing. It's the world crying with Amy so she doesn't have to cry alone. By the time the final scene fades out, the ranch feels different. The storm has passed, but the land looks alive again, softer, freer, like it's exhaled. You realize the episode wasn't just telling a story. It was teaching a lesson, that no matter how deep the pain runs, life doesn't stop offering you another sunrise. Episode 5 reminds us why Heartland isn't just a TV show, it's an emotional journey. It doesn't rush healing. It doesn't glamorize pain. It just shows it's simple, quiet, and real. And that's why it touches so many people around the world. Because everyone who watches sees a little of themselves in it, in Amy's silence, in Lou's guilt, in Jack's patience. The emotional takeaway: sometimes healing doesn't look like a victory. Sometimes it's just getting through another day without breaking. Sometimes it's a letter, a storm, or a moment of silence that tells you you're still here, and that's enough. When the storm ends, silence doesn't sound the same anymore. The rain has stopped, but something inside the ranch and inside each heart has changed. Episode 5 leaves us standing in that silence, listening to the echoes of every word, every secret, every tear that finally fell. Amy walks out onto the porch, the sky still gray but calm now. Spartan grazes quietly nearby. The letter from Georgie rests beside her, folded neatly, like a memory she's finally made peace with. You can see it in her face, not happiness, not yet, but relief. The kind of relief that comes when you stop running from the pain and finally let it sit beside you. Lou joins her. No more shouting, no more stubborn pride, just two sisters who've realized that the fight was never between them. It was between their grief and their guilt. Lou says softly, "We'll figure it out." Amy doesn't reply, she just nods. Because in Heartland, love doesn't always need words. Sometimes it's enough just to stay. Jack steps onto the porch last. He looks at the horizon, takes off his hat, and lets out a long breath. You can almost feel the weight leaving his shoulders. He doesn't say much, he never does, but his silence feels like a prayer. A thank you. A goodbye to the storm.